Good evening, my peoples. I'm Ali Mehdaoui, and this is What's New with ME. Before we start, let's acknowledge something. If you made it through 2025 without yelling at your TV, unfollowing at least 5 people, or questioning whether reality itself took a PTO day, congratulations, you are emotionally elite. Because 2025 wasn't a year, it was a stress test on democracy, on journalism, on empathy, on our collective ability to say, hey, maybe slow down for a second. This was the year where nothing whispered, everything screamed, and the loudest thing of it all, the realization that we don't actually agree on what's real anymore. So tonight, no breaking news, no charons, no panic music, just a clear chronological walk through the year that we refuse to blink on. Let's begin. January. Power returns, and so does the echo. So January opened with history repeating itself, which, as we've learned, it's not comforting. Donald Trump returned to the White House. Supporters celebrated what they saw as vindication. Critics warned of democratic erosion. Cable news ran out of adjectives by January 23rd. But here is the underreported truth. The shock wasn't that Trump returned. The shock was how quickly the country snapped back into survival mode. Executive orders landed immediately. Climate commitments reversed. Trade posture hardened. Immigration rhetoric sharpened. All of it happened fast. So fast that people who supported it had to pause and say, okay, that was quick. Allies recalibrated, markets flinched, and Americans realized something uncomfortable. We didn't enter a new chapter. We reopened an old one and skipped the forward. February, Ukraine and the politics of fatigue. By February, Ukraine entered another year of war. And while bombs still fell, something else dropped first: attention. This is what war fatigue looks like. Not peace, not resolution, just fewer headlines. Aid packages became arguments. Arguments became delays. Delays became policy. And that's when wars get dangerous. Not when they start, but when they become background noise. Because when suffering loses urgency, it loses protection. March, Gaza, moral absolutes, and human reality. March forced the world to look at Gaza again. And here's the problem. Everyone had certainty. No one had solutions. One side screamed terrorist and the other side screamed genocide. Children screamed because buildings collapsed. And social media? Well, social media turned tragedy into team sports. But here is the thing. History will remember. The dead don't care about your hashtags. This wasn't about choosing sides. It was about choosing humanity. And 2025 made that choice harder than it ever should have been. April. Epstein returns. Trust does not. April reopened a wound that never healed. The Epstein scandal returned to the headlines with new documents, photos, and timelines. Not accusations, just connections. And suddenly, the question wasn't, did this happen? It was, why does accountability pauses at the edge of power? Names circulated. Media outlets tiptoed. Social media sprinted ahead of facts. But the most revealing reaction, the public didn't gasp. They sighed, because nothing erodes trust faster than selective justice. When accountability feels optional, people stop believing in the system entirely. May was when the internet lost its protective bubble. Influencers fell, media figures collapsed, algorithms rewarded outrage and unprecedented rates. And then tragedy. The Charlie Kirk shooting stopped the noise cold. A man was killed. A family was shattered. And before the grief settled, the politics arrived. That's the sickness, not the disagreement, but the inability to pause. But you don't have to agree with someone to mourn their death. And if empathy depends on ideology, it isn't empathy, it's performance. 2025 exposed how quickly we trade compassion for commentary. June, protests, polarizations, and the joy of hating. June arrived with protests everywhere, some sincere, some staged, some hijacked by people who confuse anger with purpose. But the real story wasn't the crowds, it was the language. Opponents became enemies, neighbors became threats, disagreements became justifications. History has seen this movie, and it doesn't end well. July, America performs itself. July was loud. Cable news became theater. Social media became combat, and everyone became an expert. Facts slowed down, feelings sped up. This was the summer America didn't argue. It performed its disagreements, and the algorithms loved every second of it. August, Climate stops asking permission. August didn't debate climate change, it demonstrated it. Wildfires erased communities, floods displaced families, heat waves stressed systems that were already fragile. And while politicians debate causes, insurance companies made adjustments quietly. That was what made climate change real. Not in speeches, but in deductibles. September. AI arrives, ready or not. September marked the moments AI stopped being a conversation and became infrastructure. Jobs shifted, content exploded, truth became harder to verify. The question stopped being, is this dangerous? And it became, who is responsible and when it goes wrong. October, faith, symbolism, and a surprise. October delivered a shock, an American Pope. Some saw hope, some saw politics, some saw a cultural moment bigger than ideology. In a year obsessed with data, faith returned to the conversation, not as dogma, but as grounding. November, elections and lack of confidence. November brought elections across the globe. Governments changed, alliances shift, but the common theme, distrust, low turnout, and high suspicions. Systems struggling to keep pace with societies that no longer believe in them. So here we are in December. Ukraine still bleeds. Gaza still mourns. Epstein questions still linger. Charlie Kirk's family still grieves. Diddy exposed Hollywood, does what it wants, and gets away with it for decades. And America still talking, still divided, and still searching. So the real story of 2025? 2025 didn't break us. It revealed us. It showed us how quickly we choose sides over solutions, how fast we talk before we listen, and how dangerous it is to confuse certainty with wisdom. This wasn't the year everything collapsed. It was the year we realized how much work we've been postponing. I'm Ali Mehdaoui, and this has been a year of What's New with ME. Stay curious, stay human, and please, let's do better in 2026. Good night. One last time in 2025.